At the conclusion of our time in the underworld, as Aeneas is with Anchises, he asks his father, "Hey, who is that standing over there, the young man with such a likeness to his father? But there's a black cloud that hangs with a sad shade over his head." And this is what prompts one of the next most famous pieces of Book 6 in the Aeneid, is Anchises' response to his son with a description of this unfortunate young man. So our passage here begins with Anchises addressing Aeneas directly. O son, do not seek," is the imperative there. Do not seek, implying to learn, of this great sadness of ours, of our people. For the fates, they will verb, pay attention to the tense of the verb there, will show this one only to our lands. They will not allow anything more. The Romana propago, the Roman race would seem, and your book tells you rightly, the far text, I should say, adds an S set here as the conclusion of a contrary to fact condition. The Roman offspring would seem powerful too much to you, O superi, superi meaning dei, meaning the gods. If these gifts had been his to have rightly. So you can string propria hike dona together in some fashion like that. Now we get into some of the geography of Rome as Anchises continues his lament. So what great groans, those go together there. And you should see too in the syntax how complicated it becomes with the nouns and their modifiers, and let that guide you to some interpretation of how Anchises feels delivering this speech as well. Okay, so ille campus goes together as well, and magnam urbem. So that plain will give what great groans to the great city of groans of men, pardon me, and that's for Aurum, to the great city of Mars. Or, he continues, what funera, O Tiberine, Tiber, god of the Tiber, you will see when, and this is an alternative future in the passive ending. So that's the same as the ris ending. Or what great funeral rites you will see when you flow by the fresh tomb. This is what that is referring to. So here's the map of Rome, and I highlighted a few details to make this easier to see. The blue, of course, is the Tiber River. The red is the Via Lata. It's the widest main street in accessing Rome from the north. Today it's called the Flaminian Way. When you exit Rome to the north, within the city it's called the Via del Corso. Very strategically, Augustus made the choice to build his mausoleum at the narrowest point between the Tiber and the Via Lata. And at the time, imagine that the Campus Martius is very underdeveloped, and so it's a clear view of the land there. So whether you are coming to Rome via land on the Via Lata or by waterway on the Tiber, you will at this bottleneck, at this bend, see the mausoleum of Augustus. And the campus that's referred to here is the Campus Martius in this whole region. So the funeral rites for this young man happen there, the Campus Martius. His remains are interred in the tomb of Augustus. And in fact, this is the first person who is buried in Augustus's tomb. There is still a placard for the niche on the wall where the remains of this young man were interred. So hopefully that'll clarify a little bit of the location context, the cultural context of what's happening in this passage. We continue. So in addition to the sadness that Anchises has pronounced here, he goes on then to say that no one will ever parallel this young man. So, no, nor will any boy born from the race of Troy raise into such hope the Latin ancestors. So no one will be this boy's rival again at all, nor will the earth of Rome, the Tellus Romula, will ever again boast itself so greatly in any offspring. So this is as good as it gets. And no one will be as celebrated as this young man. O pietas, O loyalty, O prisca loyalty, ancient loyalty, and he is again hailing the unconquerable right hand, the right hand unconquerable in war. Okay? And then we're going to get a little narration about how fierce a warrior this person is. Okay? So not anyone having gone in the way to meet him, the dative is obvious plus dative, him, and he's also armed, him having been armed, nor did anyone raise or bring to that one armed in battle, is anyone unpunished. So if you meet this young man in battle, you will be punished. He is that powerful. Or when he goes on foot into the enemy, so whether it's on foot into the enemy or whether he drives the sides of his foaming horse with calcaribus. Either way, on foot or on horse, he is unconquerable in war. Hail, O miserable boy, if any fata, so that's aliqua, aspera, fata. And if you can, Anchises is directly imploring the shade he sees here, if you can burst through qua fata aspera, you will be Marcellus. Now, rightly at this point is when the mother of Marcellus, who is Octavia, who is Augustus's sister, hears this in the recitation. The legend has it that she fainted with the grief and memory and the glorious eulogy that Anchises presents her son, who died far, far too young. I believe he was not even 20 years old at the time of his death, and he died in 23 BCE. He was Augustus's appointed heir. So this came as quite a shock to the ruling family in Rome. Continuing then, Anchises says in a command, give with full hands lilies, the funeral flowers. And he says, and I will do this, and I will do this, and I will do this. So he will entrust the various funeral rites so long as people rightly mourn. And this ends his speech. And so then he and Aeneas continue to wander in this region, and they survey everything. All the things which afterwards, Anchises singula, one by one, is what that means. He led his son one by one through everything, and he incendit his animum. He enrages or inflames his spirit with the namor of fame or rumor of good things still coming. Straight away then, he mentions the bella gerenda at last. Quae bella gerenda, or the bella which must be gerendad, with men. There are more mortal battles to come, and this is a foreshadowing of books 7 through 12. He then teaches Aeneas of these people, the Laurentian people, that is Laurentes for Laurentes, and the city of Latinus is who this is, and he is the king who rules in the little dwelling and development that sits upon the hill we know today as the Palatine. This again, more foreshadowing of books 7 through 12. And also Anchises narrates how and with whom he should flee or carry out each task. Some battles you choose, some battles you avoid. So as Anchises arms his son with all of that knowledge, their time together in the underworld approaches. And here's another very famous image from the underworld. The gates of sleep, which are the gates out of the underworld. One is said, and when you have fert again in the passive, meaning is said to be cornea. Make sure you understand which dreams or shadows are allowed to pass through that one. And the other one is of candenti elephanto, of shining ivory. And pay attention to which dreams are allowed to pass through there. So Anchises escorts and follows both his son and Sibyl, as it says right here, dictis, with words, and he sends them through the Porta Epurna. Consider what that might mean. Illa, then, is Aeneas, and as soon as he reaches the upper airs again, he returns to his comrades in his fleet, and he returns to this city. And my apologies, this should be Ancora, the name of another town. And here is where his ships will stand. They've reached Italian shore, and the next phase of the epic is set to begin.